Okay. On a field trip last year, I met with the bush medicine man Francis Morean. When I came back in March '94, I contacted him and he agreed to show me some herbs which he often uses to make his remedies. So we went to the woods of the northern range.
Okay. For most people, what we have here are common weeds, things which they will cut down, disregard, discard. Most people say, oh, that's old bush, right? And I'm actually showing people a way that they can take these same old bush and convert it into these medicines we have here, which can be of great healing value.
Okay.
This is the creeping marigold. It's called a creeping marigold because it makes a flower like a marigold, and it creeps all over embankments like these, forming a lush carpet. And it's also called Vepin Caribe locally. And it's used for coughs and colds. It makes a syrup. It's made from the flowers in particular, or from the leaves as well. And this syrup has to remove mucus from the lungs and from the bronchial passages. The tea from this plant is also very good for ladies. And in Grenada, where this plant also grows, it's called zebafam. Zebafam meaning a herb for women. It's very good for menstrual pain. Easy to tell why they call this plant granny backbone. You know, when those old ladies getting, well, old men do the same thing to it, but maybe it's a gender issue. It's called lion tasso. It's called monkey ladder, monkey step. It's also called Tarzan vine by young people nowadays, right? The name lion tasso is, by which is a nice call, refers to alludes to the resemblance of the growing vine to raw beef. But if you look at them, those out there, you can see how high they're climbing. And you can hold on to one of those vines and actually swing across the valley if you're really daring. Right? And it's very woody. This vine belongs to the legume family, but most times people would not see the leaves, which I have here. Okay? The generic name of this plant is Bauhinia. Right? You can hold this piece. Right? This genus, Bauhinia, was named after two French brothers, two botanists. And so the leaflets, each leaflet is sewn, so to speak, to represent one of the brothers. So this is one brother and this is the other brother. Bauhinia. This is Bauhinia. There are two species. One is Bauhinia cumanensis. One is Bauhinia excisa. This is Bauhinia excisa, right? In Bauhinia cumanensis, the leaflets are joined. The vine is used as the source of a tonic. When the pieces of the vine are cut and boiled, it is a red liquid. Okay, this plant is the mat root, known as mat root, or quasi mat, or wild treff. Okay, it's a bitter tasting vine with heart-shaped, heart-shaped leaves. Okay, and it's very often found growing along embankments like these. And the vine, this is just a young vine here, but the vine tends to run very high up the embankments, and the roots go very deep into the soil. All the entire parts of this plant are very bitter tasting. In fact, there are some butterflies that lay their eggs on these plants, and the caterpillars feed on the leaves And the leaves are rich in alkaloids. And because of the bitter tasting alkaloids in the leaves, no birds would feed on these butterflies. Hunters would keep a piece of the root in their pockets when they go hunting. And in the event that they may be stung by a scorpion or bitten by a snake, they would chew the leaf as an antidote.
Chew it and swallow it.
Yeah. And the root is also used in mixtures. There's a mixture called, the old Spanish people call it a botella de compuita. Botella de compuita really means butter of contents. That's all it means when translated from the Spanish. And this butter, botella de compuita, is made up of herbs like the matroot, things like the larvae, the caterpillars that feed on the matroot, and a wide range of other herbs and spices soaked in alcohol. And in the event that a snake bites someone again, they would just take a drink of it.
It's a beautiful view. It's going down.
The anato or ruku plant. Now the ruku or anato is a small tree which makes very attractive flowers, which we can see here. And these flowers are very popular among honeybees. The plant produces fruits in clusters like these, borne on the end of the branches or close to the end of the branches. Yield a reddish, fat-soluble dye, which is used both in cooking and as a body coloring. I'd open a fruit now and show you.
Yeah.
Not a good example. Each has an aerial, okay, which is the dye. You can crush the seeds like this, and you get a dye like that. Okay. Now, when the Europeans first came to the Caribbean, this dye that you see here, they mixed the dye with other ingredients, and that extract was pasted on the body as an insect repellent, so they wouldn't have to worry about the mosquitoes and the gnats in the Caribbean. Yeah, at Christmas time it's used in making pastels. It gives the pastel a nice rich color. It's known as the maljo bean. Okay, maljo is the local word for bad eye. For maljo, like someone can look at your child and give the child the evil eye. And people would take the bean from this pod and keep it on the child on a string or on a pin, in the hope that, or rather in the belief that the child would not be affected by the evil eye.
And once it's affected, is that the plan to find out if it's affected?
No, this helps prevent it.
It helps prevent it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if the child does get maljo, there are herbs they would use to remove the maljo. And I'll show you some of those.
Yeah. And now you show me the broom. Alright.
So several plants of the sweet broom are tied, collected and made into a little bundle. And when the child is suffering from maljo, as they believe, they would beat the child. And they would say prayers in Spanish, which they call a Santo Guay. And these prayers, accompanied by the flagellation with the sweet broom, are meant to cut the effect of the maljo. This one is shadow benny, right? This one is a seasoning and it's also used for medicine. Most of them can be used for medicine as well, although they are seasoning herbs.
And you use the leaves, don't you?
Yeah, they also call it pitweed or bandania or shadow benny. Okay. This plant is called Leaf of Life or Wonder of the World. It's called by those names because of the seemingly miraculous quality of the plant in producing young plants off the leaf. Along the leaf margin, young plants would emerge and these little points here. And very often school children would take these leaves and place a leaf in their exercise books or their textbooks. And the leaves would stay green for a long, long time. And then you can plant it and it would make young plants.
Back in Arima, at his herb shop, I asked Francis Morean to tell me how he got involved in this business.
I started this business just over 2 years ago. 2 years and 4 months to be exact. And, I've been involved in this for about 13 years in this aspect in terms of actually documenting and gathering information on the local herbs and on the environment. But in another respect, I've been around this activity all my life. In fact, my grandmother, with whom I grew up, she used to make a lot of these herbal remedies in the village of Palo Seco. That's in deep South Trinidad. And a lot of the older people in the village as well used to make a lot of herbal remedies. Most of my staff, as you will see, are young people, and try to get the young people involved in the use of the herbs. I take young school children, for example, on tours in the forest, and they really enjoy them. I'm also trying to show people the potential beauty of the forests, and the fact that if we can preserve the forests, we can forever provide a source of employment for others and enjoyment at the same time. Came in contact with a lot of people who have been using bush medicine as the only form of healing for most of their lives, right? Apart from that, even while on campus, I would go out into the forest and, evening walks. I'll go to the city, there are lots of old ladies in the Port of Spain or San Fernando. Or almost every marketplace in Trinidad, you can find an old lady who makes herbal remedies. And I would go to these old ladies and I would interview them and get information from them about the use of the herbs. These ladies themselves began to encourage me to not just, they always insisted I shouldn't just be gathering all this information, I must make it available to others. So I used to write articles which I published in the newspapers, and then I began to sell them. So around 1986, 85, 86, 87, I used to sell in the Tunapuna market. In fact, I used to sell herbs to finish my first degree at university. I used to go every week, and I really enjoyed it because it was one of the most enjoyable experiences to me.
The million. Join the Saturday, the million. The million for Saturday, the million.
Where the majority of Parliament people are,
Well, what thing that they call them?
do agriculture, so you know. The majority of them do agriculture, so you know. So they do it with a lot of herbs and seasoning and so forth.
So you grow them in your garden,
Yeah.
own garden?
Yeah.
And how often do you come to the market?
But twice, 3 times.
Yes.
Mostly on weekends and so.
What time do you get here in the morning?
From 4 in the morning,
4 in the morning, you get up early.
And what time do you normally leave?
sometime on 11, 12, around that time.
And you're always sold out? So there's
More or less, eh? More or less, we sell out everything.
So there's a great demand for these herbs and...
For the herbs,
Yeah.
yes. Herbs always sell.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes the seasoning will stay back, but herbs always sell.
Why are the herbs so popular?
But I think the people are now getting into knowing about herbs. You know, before, some of the people would not use like Worcestershire soap, but normally, you see now, presently, the people now get to know more about herbs. So they find out
Whatever you wish.
I'd like to say hello to all your people.
Thank you. I will tell them.
What's that?
I will tell them.
Right.
Oui. Bon.
Yeah, but what's the behind you?
You're from New York?
I was here in Manhattan.
Where in Manhattan? Wow.
Look what's behind your back.
And what are you selling here?
Celery. This is my side. This is a knife to cut it.
How much the knife? How much the knife?
To Marian Lord, better known as Mother Lord.
Nice to meet you. Hello.
She sells spices and herbs and condiments in the wholesale market in Port of Spain. Mother Lord, how long have you been selling these herbs and spices? Since you've been a young girl?
32 years.
For 32 years. How old are you now?
64.
50.
$2.
How long have you been living in Trinidad? 45 years now. Okay. And some time ago you told me you used to do trading on the ships and the boats. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
While I was a young girl in around 16 years, used to speculate to be grenadines.
Yeah.
So Just like Union Island, Canawan, Timatney, Carriacou, right? Doing trading backward and forward, to and from.
It must have been a rough life being a young lady with all these men on the ships.
No, I had loved it very much.
You loved it?
Yes.
So you handled them? I mean, did you?
Yeah. We get along very well.
Yeah. They must have all been in love with you.
Yes. It was very pretty and young and nice.
Yeah. So who told you you're not pretty and nice now?
Well, age stepping.
Oh, okay.
So I know that.
Okay.